Welcome back. Thank you for clicking on today's video. Today we're continuing our conversation on doing a paired t-test using the Fred method, and today we're going to talk about D, the drawing conclusions. Now, when you draw conclusions, essentially you're talking about if you have sufficient or insufficient evidence for your alternative, okay? And so here, our alternative, remember, we shortened to H sub A. Now, in our alternative, we've been talking about, we'll be discussing mu sub D in some way that it compares to 0. So we could have mu sub D less than 0, mu sub D greater than 0, or mu sub D not equal to 0. But essentially, this is what we're going to restate. Now, we've defined mu sub D as being mean difference between, and then we state our two variables. And then we state our population, and then we state how the differences were found. Okay, so that is the basis. This is where we've started. This is what we need to do. So when we state our letter D, we'll always start with there is, and we'll say either sufficient or insufficient evidence to suggest. And remember that the sufficient and insufficient, goes with if you reject or fail to reject. So that's part of it. That's the base part that we're used to. Now the next part, just to make these so that they're readable. So basically these two things are the same, right? Mu sub D we're defining with this sentence. So we're going to say to suggest, and we would say the maybe variable 1 is less than, greater than, or differs from, and then we would state variable 2. And then we would state for the population, and then on average. On average. Oy vey. Okay, now, that's kind of a generic paint by numbers approach, and I want to show you what parts are going to be connected to the alternative. So when we wrote the alternative, we had between two variables. So we had variable 1 and variable 2. So that's that part. We're including that because remember, we're always talking about how much evidence we have for the alternative, where we are making a hypothesis in the alternative about our parameter, which is why I have my parameter definition here. So then we would state the population. And then we have the term on average, and that's coming from that mean difference part. So whenever you're talking about a mu, you have to talk about it in the terms of on average, because you don't have that happen all the time. It's just the majority of the time, or on average, not the majority of the time. I shouldn't have said it like that. And then the last part of that mu sub D is this. Now, these things are going to be interrelated because the way that you found the differences is going to affect what you do for your mu sub D in terms of the direction or how you compare, and then it would also affect if you said less than, greater than, or differs from, because depending on which variable is which, it's going to affect this, which affects this, and is affected by this. So keep that in mind. So that's how I restate an alternative. And again, remember that this part is going to depend on your decision. The rest of it depends on that alternative. In the next few videos, I have 3 examples, so you'll be able to see me doing this and you'll be able to practice it yourself. But essentially right now, that's the generic version of a D. See you in future videos.